Hey guys, Adam here, the Roof Strategist. Today I am joined by William Wright, who sent me a text message this weekend, and he's here to share his story of how he transformed his life in the roofing industry in just a few months. And he said, "I used to make 40,000 on salary, and this month's commissions was like 20,000. Ha ha. In 2 months, I'll make my old salary for an entire year." And that was the text we exchanged. So, William, thanks for joining us and sharing your story with the channel. Welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Adam.
Dude, it's great to have you. And for anyone that didn't watch, William watched the interview I did with Andrew Itmeyer, ended up getting a drone and just setting up his Instagram. So you'll get a link to that to check out what he's doing, to
That's right.
follow the power of the community. So, William, tell me what you were doing before roofing sales and how much you were earning. Then we're going to jump right into kind of how you accelerated that success.
Yeah. So I was, believe it or not, and as you get to know me over the next few minutes, you'll realize, man, this guy should not have been an accountant. But I was in bookkeeping for a home builder, not that it matters. And I was essentially just running numbers all day, all day. That was my life. Um, I'm one of those guys who gets itchy always for man, what's coming next, or what does growth look like, and kind of accelerating from where I am. And so I think I was always dreaming about what was going to be upcoming for me. So I remember, before I started in door to door, originally I left and I was like, man, I'm going to flip houses, just like the Gaines family. It's going to be the exact same thing. But I took a door to door job almost as not a joke, but almost as a joke. I'm like, okay, this will help me pay bills. And I kind of got into it and I was like, holy cow, this is really taking off. So all of a sudden, here I am, and it's my full-time job.
So how much were you earning at the accounting gig a year?
Like 40, low 40s.
Low 40s. And how did you end up finding the door-to-door opportunity?
Oh man. I was like ashamed when I started off. I was like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. I think it was like an ad on Craigslist. I don't know. I texted a guy. I'm like, hey, I'd love to learn more. Just put some extra cash in my pocket. And I remember he replied something with boy with 3 eyes. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding. Like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. But it was originally in solar. And so I kind of just started knocking and realized, man, there's a whole world of information out there. That's one of the things I love about door to door is like people have been doing it for 60 years. There's so many books and cut and paste stuff out there. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then I think it was in like month 2 or something, I was looking at my paychecks and I'm like, man, this is way, 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 way more than a part-time ice cream shop gig that I thought it was.
So how did you end up with the roofing company? You don't have to share names, obviously, for private confidentiality, but how did you end up with the roofing company you're with now?
So I was knocking, and I knocked on our owner's door, and he starts talking to me, and one thing just led to another. He's like, well, do you want to make more money? I was like, well, might as well. It's the same thing, right? And so that's how I kind of ended up in roofing. But once I started understanding the quote unquote sale of an insurance roof, I was like, man, I love this. So that's how I kind of ended up at the roofing side.
And then you made your text. So you're banking on, share with us again, how much in commissions from this month?
It'll be just shy of 20.
Just shy of 20. And your old salary was 40. So 50% of your annual income earned in a 30-day period.
In a month.
So
I wish people could meet me. I'm the most average Joe you've ever met. Like, and I think some people believe there's something different or special about some door-to-door people. No, I'm a cut and paste from good teachers kind of guy. Right. Nothing original about me. I'm taking in everything that's already out there. And really anybody can do it is what I want to communicate.
That's awesome, man. And I was the same way. Middle-class white boy, no sales experience, Didn't know what the heck I was doing. Couldn't tell you what underlayment was. Couldn't tell you what an eave was or a dormer. Now, before we started recording, you shared with me a story about you telling some close friends of yours kind of how this changed your life and the earning potential Would you mind sharing that with everybody? The kind of how that
Yeah,
conversation went?
So, I was joking with Adam that sometimes, I'll tell some friends of mine that maybe don't like their jobs, they're like, hey, this is, I work an awful job or whatever. And I'm like, yeah. So and very close friends, I'll tell, hey, this was my commission this month. And they'll look at me and they'll say, wow, that's great. I'm like, nothing, like crickets. That's it, man. That's awesome for you.
Yep.
Nothing. And I think for a lot of people, it is just that hurdle of leaving the W-2. I don't know what it is. I honestly can't look back and feel like, oh, I remember it at this point. Just because I'm all in on what I'm doing now.
Yeah. And you were saying that these folks weren't super happy in their careers, correct? Or their jobs?
No, right. Yeah. I'll tell people who are, desk jockeying for 50 hours a week, hey, you can make way more money. We're doing this interview at 3:00 on a Thursday because I'm free as heck at 3:00 on a Thursday. You can have all the freedom in the world, like make way more money. What's holding you back?
Yeah. And it's crazy because so many people aren't happy with their jobs, but will stay put for the sole purpose of stability and familiar. I wouldn't even say stability, it's familiarity. And some people say door knocking sucks. Does it at first? For sure. Are there times that it gets easier? Yes. When you start doing warm door knocking and working installs and it's just starting conversations, it ain't bad. But I'll tell you, I'd rather get paid $20,000 a month to do something a little less pleasant than to sit as a desk jockey being miserable and hating my life and getting the same paycheck no matter what I did.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I used to think about stability in the same way. Like, this is stable. Why? Like, what makes you say that's stable? Like your fate is entirely out of your hands. Like whether they want to let you go the next day or, the economy just tanks or whatever. I think we've just told ourselves, hey, this is really stable because it's what everyone's doing, not necessarily because there's any more stability in working for someone directly than working for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you'll never go hungry without a job because good companies are always looking for good people. And it's funny, people say, oh, it's a lot of risk. You're like, is it? I was earning $20,000 a year, $40,000 a year. I get these emails all the time. Restaurant work, I'm sick of it. Sous chef, sick of it. Laborer, not getting paid enough, sick of it. Serving tables, want to make more money. It's all the same. Mine was a massage therapist doing $20,000 a year. I was required to be there, but I wasn't paid unless I was booked and I was new. So I would sit around for 6 hours and get paid for 2, but be required to be there. I don't even know how it's legal, but
man, it's almost something I get hot about. I'm like, what's risky is if you're looking at your job and your future and you're a numbers guy, I'm a numbers guy or a numbers girl, and saying this doesn't pencil out, but I'm going to stay right here. That you have the real risk tolerance at that point. That's kind of how I felt. I'm like, man, it'll never pencil out for me to make what I'm making and be supporting any more than my wife and dog.
Yeah.
Much less kids one day. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is just, but for some reason or another, I don't know, folks feel like, hey, this is less risk.
Yeah. If you were to give yourself advice or someone that's just getting into the industry, like imagine looking back where you are now, like you have systems, you and I've talked on the phone a few times, you're doing super well. If you could fast track your success over the first 30 to 60 days in roofing sales, what would you tell your former self? What would be the best advice you could give yourself?
You need to, if you knock on doors and learn, you'll get there. Things will pan out. If you invest seriously, and it sounds like I have something to sell. I don't. Invest in your education, invest your time in your education. Start there. And there's enough out there that you can put it together to the point where you can start getting some sales. But if you can knock on doors and learn, spend 30 minutes watching YouTube videos. Don't watch this one over and over. There may not be a lot on this one, but if you can invest in your education and knock on doors, it'll pan out. And there are going to be so many people who tell you, it's risky. It's risky. Like one day call me and we'll laugh about that.
Yeah, that's good advice. My family told me not to do it. Everyone. It's the first time I'm very close with my dad, and I brainstormed things with him. I was like, I'm going all in. I tried to juggle massage therapy and this for 2 weeks, and I'm like, I'm a moron. My average commission is going to be $2,000 there. I barely see $2,000 in a month, and I was on call Saturdays, Sundays, and evenings. It's prime selling time. So I said, I'm making the leap. These stupid doctors are like, you're leaving security. I'm like, I don't know if you'd call my $30 grocery per week budget is security. I literally didn't eat at Subway. I couldn't afford Subway. And I asked my mom for $20 to go visit my family on Easter to drive 2 hours. Talk about demoralizing. So, so you mentioned like getting out and knocking doors. A lot of people, a lot of new salespeople, they hate it. And it's because of the fear basically, and the concern. But do you have any advice, or do you have like a mantra or anything you tell yourself, or any motivational tips to get you out knocking doors when there's those days you just don't quite feel like it?
And there are those days. Like, I mean, I consider myself to be someone who like doesn't hate knocking doors, but there are still those days. I mean, if step one is if you can get past the car door, that's the first door. The first door you need to handle is the car door. If you can get outside of that and just start walking around, sometimes it's not even I'm not out there looking like I'm really selling something. Sometimes I'm just going up and knocking on a door and, hey, I'm sorry to bother you. I hate knocking. I almost hate it as much as you do, honestly. And that's true. Lead with that. And then it's funny if you can catch someone who's like, okay, that was kind of funny. I'll engage with you for a few seconds. It'll make it all worth it. And then you'll, get one sale or get on one roof and you're like, this was a great day.
All you need
get past the car door.
I like that. Get past the car door. Open the one door that's holding you in.
It's the only door that will stop you. Yeah.
And we've always done it. Some of the tricks I used to have, thanks for sharing that, by the way. I used to get all my letters that, I'd leave at the door, like in the battle pack and stuff. And I'd print them out and I'd have them on my seat, my passenger seat. And that was like I'm not going home till those are at least on a door. And that was my own kind of game I played to discipline that it wasn't just, I'll call it quits. Because some days, like I got off the phone with a guy today, he says, Adam, I knocked 51 doors and I struck out. And he was laughing. He's like, it's just life. The next guy goes, I got 3 for 3, knocked 3 doors, 3 inspections, 3 deals. And we've all had those times. And it's just, it's never always easy. You're never always on this. That's a fictitious path. There's,
right. it's never, no, you're never guaranteed to go out there, and it's not quote unquote fair, whatever that means. Some guy is going to go out and he's going to do 3, but sometimes my numbers, half of a week will come from a really hot day. Like I signed 3 in a day. Like I was on one. I don't know, but like I can guarantee you, if I hadn't gone out the other 4 days or 5 days, I wouldn't have had the hot day. Like the only way to guarantee you're not going to make it is to not knock on any doors.
Yeah, that's true. Would you mind sharing that story? The one that we talked on the phone about using some mailers?
Man, the 10,000% ROI in a week story.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so there was a hailstorm here about a month ago, and everybody and their mother's out in this neighborhood. I'm 3 weeks into roofing, and I'm out there with everybody else. I'm like, I have no way which way is up. And I did the handwritten letters that you mentioned in the they come in the battle pack, and some lady gives me a call, and I think, nobody ever calls me. And this was after my first batch of letters. Nobody had ever called on any flyer I had left on their door. And then this first batch of letters I sent out, this lady calls me and she says, hey, I've got 10 other roofers' letters here sitting in front of me. I wasn't going to call you, but I got your letter and I just thought that was so different. And so I wanted to have you come out and look at this. And man, I put in the address. I remembered it. The homeowner had told me, like, get out of here. They had a clearly discontinued roof. Like it's a horizon checkered to pieces. And I show up, it's 48 squares plus waste, and I'm like, huh. So it'll be a $4,000 or $5,000 roof for me. And I mean, how much did I spend on? I don't even remember, but like pennies. And I remember when I was thinking about, okay, am I gonna actually buy this, or am I actually gonna not? I'm always hesitant of all sorts of gurus out there. I remember thinking, man, if I could hear just like one normal person say like, yeah, I did it and it worked, like that would be what put me over the edge. And that's 100% what I'm saying to everyone right now. Like it returned me 10 times in one day. And has since. I've knocked on people's doors. Oh yeah, you sent me that letter, didn't you? All right, fine. I get responses like that all the time. Nobody else is doing that. It's been awesome. Yeah.
That's great. And you said you went next door, and after you got that deal signed?
Yes. That same day, I went to another lady's house, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're that kid that." I was like, "Golly, get out of here." And she was like, "Okay, I got your letter. People knock all the time. People send me flyers all the time. Go on up, take a look." And she ended up being someone who, had a really, really, really old 3-tab roof, was in a really, really, really bad situation, and really needed help. And I, really, that's one of the roofs where I really felt privileged to step into their life, even for, a month, and say, okay, like, how can I help you with this? She literally told me she would think about it at night. She's like, man, this roof is about to just explode.
That's not good.
And when I went up there, it was like bowling alley. It was polished. I'm like, golly, I wish I spent money on a goat.
That's wild, man. So you follow the system, you sent a letter in the mail. They said to you, we left, there's 10 roofers that left. Let me guess, because you said letters, there was 10 of the roofer letters. Did you mean like the door hangers at the door?
Yeah, they were door hangers, and they said they got some, junk postcards in the mail or whatever.
And that's the difference. I keep telling people, have a tendency with the letters in the battle pack to want to overproduce them. Like, leave them on plain paper, because that's what stands out. Otherwise you blend in. Everybody's putting, double gloss door hangers or direct mail, giant postcards, and then just stand out. By the way, we did it too. You just make them bigger and make them bigger and make them bigger. And then, and maybe that'll stand out. And then that, you mentioned something about the letter and the door hangers. And I think that's a really powerful lesson. And I'd love to hear your input. You're doing it. You are putting multiple touches. There's no silver bullet. It's not, I'm not going to knock a door. I'll just do this. It's letter at the door if no one's home. Send a letter in the mail. And you said people now, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You said people are remembering you when you show back up.
100%. They, okay, all right, well, no, I did get your letter. They do. And it is different. And you're like, well, surely that doesn't make it. No, I'm telling you, it's literally 20 minutes of work for you to go through and write these letters for a neighborhood. And if you make $4,000 in 20 minutes, what's your hourly rate? Like, that'll work.
That's more than a neurosurgeon
and
the industry's top attorneys.
Yeah. So it is a small expenditure of time, way easier than knocking on doors for everyone who hates knocking on doors, which again, that's probably everyone. And the return's awesome. It's been great for me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that story. I want to go back to you for a minute. So this industry, you went from 40 grand ish, 20 in a month. What can you share, like, how you've developed personally through this new role? Because I'm going to pause that question. I'm going to come back to that.
Yeah.
Looking back to when you were in the accounting type position with this construction company doing bookkeeping, describe this version of you, the old version and the new version. What really changed?
Man, what I don't think I'd look back and be like, yeah, I recognize that guy. I was afraid. I never knew, hey, am I going to mess up at work? Am I not going to be punching the clock at the right time? Am I, always looking at the budget, like, hey, is this going to add up? Is this really Or maybe it's like, yeah, it'll add up, but like, my wife was raised water skiing. She likes to call herself a lake rat. Like looking at the budget, being like, okay, ends will meet, but like we'll never be lake rats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now, I mean, I have total control of my time, financial freedom. The budget's not like a stressful thing. It's like man, this is fun. This is like we can do creative things with money and give to things we love and support people we love on staff with different organizations and stuff. I mean, once you get here, you will never go back. I just can't fathom it. I mean, sitting here talking to Adam, this is the longest I've sat at a desk. 6 months. Once you get to a certain point, you'll never look back, and people think like, man, I'll never get there. No, like you will. There are plug and play systems like Adam's that I did. Nothing special about me. That got me to where I am. And so, yeah, you do have to step out a little bit. But for a lot of us, it's like stepping out of a boat, but the boat has a leak and you feel it every day that you're sitting at your desk. So sometimes it's stepping out is worth it.
Yeah, comfort zones don't yield growth. If you're comfortable all the time, you're not growing. I flex my comfort muscle a lot, and just all the time. How do you go try something new? How do you do something new? Throwing yourself into crazy scenarios, which I want to ask you that in a second. But for you getting started, there's that lag time of I'm knocking doors. I haven't seen a commission yet, and this period is the period of discomfort, doing new things, uncertainty, doubting yourself. What brought you from that place of like just getting out, doing it to, same with me once I first commission check, but what kind of brought you through? How did you keep yourself motivated through that? What I view is the most difficult time for every person in the industry, right before their first check comes in.
I mean, once I have it inked, once, adjusters come out and said, thumbs up, that's when I started to breathe. When okay, hey, I have a good relationship with this person. They're not going anywhere. Sign is in the yard. Contract is signed. Adjuster has said thumbs up, CC'd me on their estimate. That's when for me, I felt like, okay, like I can do that. And so it was probably 2 or 3 weeks before I had my first adjuster saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and approve it. And so have people you can be honest with about it, have people you can talk to about it, and know that there is an end to that period. Like you just have to make it 2 or 3 weeks until okay, commissions are coming. But I think that's the period everyone's afraid of. And, I'm telling you, sure, it's a lot less scary though than 40 years typing. If you can do 2 or 3 weeks until your first check, or until an adjuster says you're good to go and you have money coming.
Yeah, you got to have faith, right? And just, whatever that means to you, to anyone listening, watching, you got to believe. And I'm curious if you'd agree with this or not, because I was thinking about this the other day. I'm reading a book called The Magic of Thinking Big, which most people listening have probably heard of. I'm late to the party. It's been phenomenal. And I'm listening on audio. And one of the things that really stood out to me is that really our battle with success isn't much to do. There's not much to do with our external environment. It's between our ears. It's in our own head. And I think for me, at least, it was conquering myself of doubt, fear, discomfort, not wanting to knock a door, taking something personally when someone cursed at me at their door, telling me they're going to call the police. I'm a horrible human. I'm a scumbag, all these different things. Do you think that the number one obstacle that people need to overcome is themselves, or do you think it's something different?
Oh my, the mental game we play as door-to-door people is so much more significant than, old guy with a beer belly hanging out who tells you to get off his lawn. Yeah. It really is. And like, for me, it's just for me, it was always like an identity thing of, I'm a door-to-door guy. Like someone taught me, that's a bad word or something. Like, I don't know where I got that idea, but yeah. Sometimes for me, kind of my worldview is, hey, when at least for me personally, when, there was a grand narrative put together for this world, like there were roofers in it. There were 100% roofers in it. Like they are necessary. And there are people out there who are on the cusp of shelling out for a roof, sweet old ladies who are, well, I guess it is going to cost me $10,000 to get it replaced. And they had a hailstorm fly through last week and they have no idea this is even a possibility. Like there are genuinely people who need your help, who would never call you, and maybe would never call anyone except to get an estimate, who need your help. And the flip side of that is there are contractors I trust significantly less than myself who will walk all over those folks. Sometimes I want to be there to help them. Sometimes I want to be there to be sure they work with me. Be sure to work with someone who I know has tons of integrity. And I know lots of other contractors that are, salt of the earth, great guys. But there are also bad apples out there. And those are the ones that make this industry into a bad word. We're great folks helping people with something that they were going to spend 10 years of savings on.
If I could drop this microphone right now and end this thing with what you just said, I would end it right there. I mean, that's what so many people, gosh, anyone listening, rewind like 2 minutes and listen to that again, because it's not a bad word, door-to-door sales. And you are 100% right. There are people that need what we do who don't know the wiser and who wouldn't pick up the phone, and especially the elderly. My most memorable customers, by the way, I've been on this side of the roofing game for 5-6 years. I forget, I have to do the math. I still get calls from old customers, many of which were the old customers that needed a new roof, 3-tab roofs that were just destroyed. People that called for retail that I flipped into a storm claim, got them a new roof, things like that. And you are dead right. People don't know they would need you until you're there. And those are the customers who resist you the most. Like you mentioned, the elderly person, you sent the direct mail. She clearly read it, which by the way, that's win number one. They opened it. This is why it's not cold door knocking. When you follow a system and you're in there multiple times, it's familiar. You're there to start a conversation. They recognize you. They saw a letter at the door. They got it in the mail. They see you in the neighborhood. People got eagle eyes in the neighborhood. I know the cars. You're not from around here. I know the car. That what are you doing in the neighborhood? I've never seen that one. But then you see the truck. Oh, that's that guy's truck again. That's him again. Oh, look, he's on the roof. But man, when you really just look at it of service, and that's what I loved. Like I still have that text message chain come up. You said, is it okay if I read this?
Sure.
It's part of the text. So he said,
drop any names if I put names in there, but go ahead.
Yeah, it said, just a total breath of fresh air to not look at the budget and be stressed. The budget is going from, which you're talking about your personal budget, from a gloomy thing to like a fun, creative place. Really, really cool. And man, I help a ton of people, old ladies who are on year 20 of a 3-tab who are saving tons of money. I love helping folks, and it makes selling easy and fun. Like I couldn't have said it better than the way you put it. And that's what made it so fun to me. And I felt like you too. It's just like being a savior. It's like the little old lady. We know who's out there, they're preyed upon. Let's be honest. And I view every one of them like my own grandma, like, hey, let's go through this the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's a different, when I approach a home and I'm like, how can I care for this person ridiculously well? Like, I feel like it's a different thing I'm doing than selling roofs. I feel like I'm helping people. And that's the industry I want to be in. And that's the industry I would invite other people into. Sure, selling roofs, but like really, really helping people, getting to know them, becoming an awkward piece of their family. Inviting them almost into mine. Like I have in one of my door knocking hacks, if you will, is like I have just lots of little pre-canned endearing things to kind of endear people to me. And when I'm there, like we end up having a really great friendship. And we end up we're on the same side. We're not on opposite sides. When I tell them about my wife, and we live by the high school, so it's a country club lifestyle because we play tennis there, and right by Chick-fil-A, I'm sure you know it. Stuff like that. Yeah, we end up becoming friends, and at some point I leave and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I did sell them something. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's when you're selling right, because you're not there with they don't have a bullseye on their back. and so many people would fight me on that. Would you agree? Like when you knock a door, you're not there to actually sell anything. You're there to find out what's going on. Because
Yeah.
if they don't need you, they don't need you.
If they don't need me, they don't need me. If I go up and I don't see damage, like I'll come down and tell them. Like, yeah, I just think at some point this will catch up to us.
Yeah.
At some point, the way we operate as roofers will catch up to us. Like there is no avoiding that. Man, I was on a roof the other day and someone of great authority was there with me and said, like, yeah, well, if you find some wind damage, let me know. It was a 50 square. It was huge. And I didn't, and I am still thinking about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just think these things follow us, and be good to people and as homeowners, and much more than as prospects.
Yeah. And that's still incredibly rewarding. I remember even a time I was up on a roof, same thing. It was a fringe area. I got a few claims in, only on 3-tab roofs, old storm. And I did an inspection. I'm like, there's not a chance, not even a chance that this is going to get bought. But I saw some kids' toys in the gutter above the driveway and the basketball hoop. So I threw them down, took some photos for them. And I still sat there and I said, I just want you to know you're in good shape. This is what we look for. It's not there. You're in a good spot. And by the way, brought the kids frisbees and tennis balls down. And it's a long game. I told you 6 years goes by. I still get calls. Just Adam, they say my old company name. They kept my business card. This is my personal cell phone. They don't call the company. They're calling me. And then I forward them to the company, by the way. I call them and say, hey, call these guys up. They'll take care of you because they're good people.
Yeah.
They're really good people. I was fortunate to work with a good company, as are you.
Yeah.
So, William, thank you so much for doing this. I wanted to bring you on because your story truly inspired me, and like seeing your life just do a complete 180 and then a backflip is just awesome. Is there anything any advice you'd like to leave with anyone watching to help them on their journey if they're new or thinking of the industry?
Give me a call, shoot me a DM. I'm going to push you over the edge though. So don't call me or DM me if you don't want to do it. Yeah, I mean, I kind of have taken freedom back, financial time. My day is a blank canvas a lot of the time. I'm like, all right, I'll knock for 2 or 3 hours. I think there are a lot of, you'll hear a lot of folks talk about, you got to be a grinder. You got to be a real grinder. I have an awesome life. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think, I go out and talk to people and care for them, and we're in the customer service industry. The roofing is second, like caring for people, customer service. If you want something, cutthroat and just sell, like go to pest control. But we really are in the caring for people game. And so if that is in your nature, I think this is a natural fit for you. Seriously. I mean, from the bottom of my heart.
That's awesome. Well, William, thank you so much. I super appreciate it. And for anyone watching or listening, in the video description or in the podcast description, you'll find a link to follow William on his new Instagram, inspired by Andrew and I. Thank you, Andrew, again, as well as some resources to some of the products we talked about. And the last thing, if anyone's new to the industry or thinking about it, there's a brand new platform out called Roofing Sales Connection. There's a link in the description. We're continually adding sales opportunities from great companies to connect them with people who are looking for a place. So if you're brand new, it's a great place to start. If you're one of the unfortunate souls that have had some bad experiences, maybe check it out. And and then I'll close with this. If you want more free goodies and stuff on the website, click in one of these here corners and we'll put a link to the Pitch Like a Pro roofing sales training video library for you to grab a free copy. William, thank you again so much. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
We'll see you guys soon.